what does 2024 hold out for Bitcoin?
So 2024 is going to be an important year for Bitcoin, in my view, for two reasons. One of them is that there is what's called the halvening, and it's going to happen sometime in April. But what happened this week, which is important, and the two things are connected, the timing is connected. In the United States, the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is the regulator around the financial markets, so stock, bonds, commodities, all that kind of stuff, they finally approved what is known as an exchange-traded fund in Bitcoin. Now, exchange-traded funds very simply are an investment vehicle. It's a way for you to invest in things without actually owning the individual thing. So if you wanted to have some financial exposure to Bitcoin, but you did not want to have to buy any Bitcoin, which means going onto an exchange and actually owning them, but you still want to benefit if the value of Bitcoin goes up, then you can buy now a fund as part of your overall investment portfolio. And this was quite an important step because the SEC have resisted doing this for a long time. And they constantly talk about the risks of investing in Bitcoin, which is true of a lot of high risk investments. But last year, a court case said that their grounds for denying the ETFs approval was not valid. And so they finally approved them. But it was kind of an interesting story this week that went with it, because on Tuesday, the SEC put out a story that their Twitter account had been hacked because a tweet had gone out saying that these ETFs had been approved. And the price of Bitcoin sort of, jumped 10% off the back of this news. They put out a statement saying this was a fake tweet and we've been hacked on Twitter. And then the next day, they made the official announcement that they were actually approving them.
That's bad, isn't it? Oh, I don't like that at all.
Well, I tell you what, I reckon what's happened. It's not their Twitter account got hacked. I reckon the person that was scheduling, doing the social media automation that scheduled the tweets to go out with the press release just got the wrong day. And because it looked like a proper tweet from the SEC and there's no other evidence of fake ones. Anyway,
there should be more honesty. This is buying into that this culture of dishonesty again, and it always comes from the organisations that should know better. Yeah.
So the whole point I would make about Bitcoin is that now that you've got an ETFs, it's just another step towards what I would call mainstream adoption. It's just another tick that says, okay, it's a little bit more credible than it was, right? If you just say the fact that you've now got the biggest investment firms in the world have all got the means for ordinary investors, anybody off the street, anybody with a pension fund or any kind of savings vehicle can now invest in cryptocurrency without having to actually own it and buy it and do all of that stuff that comes with being a Bitcoin owner. But where this is significant, which is the other half of this kind of story, which is that you have this thing called the halvening. So the way Bitcoin works is essentially a computer program that creates these 21 million Bitcoin. Now, the argument is that traditional money gets deflated all of the time because governments and central banks keep printing more of it. So the value of a dollar 100 years ago is like 1 cent today, right? So the way that they've dealt with that in Bitcoin is that every 4 years or so, the amount of Bitcoin that are produced by the process of creating Bitcoin halves. And it's called the halvening, right? And this is the fourth one. This is the fourth time. Now, the significant thing is that when we had the first halvening, Bitcoin's price jumped to like $1,000. When we had the second halvening, which was in 2016, it jumped to sort of $10,000 or $11,000. And when we had the third halvening, which was in 2020, it jumped to almost $70,000. And this is just simply the effect of supply and demand, because all of a sudden, the amount of supply coming into the system gets halved, and that tends to have the effect of generating demand, because every time anybody knows that there's less of something, they want to buy more of it. And so you have this spike in price. So I think the ETFs, and given the ability for retail money to go into investments, coming just ahead of the next halvening, those two events are not a coincidence, I guess is my point.
Right. Okay. I think we've lost all the mums anyway. I think we've lost mums. You've
You
half
ain't lost my
me.
mum, because my mum is pretty hot on Bitcoin these days.
Well, maybe we should get your mum on. Anyway, all right. So it could be a big year for Bitcoin.